Okay, so it's like a thing, yeah, whatever. So I have to now I'm going to talk about something that might not make sense to some, and I don't really care anymore. Um, I've given enough into peer pressure of sorts and opinion. Um, when I was younger, I I was a troubled child and I kept it all inside. And yeah, sure, I keep repeating this story, whatever. Anyway, so at some point in my life, a hero emerged. Yes, I use the word hero. And this heroine, yes, I use the word heroine. This heroine opened up doors for me that had been closed to me, that I have never um, been exposed to. Some were painful, sure, but some were blissful and amazing. And to this day, she remains my hero, my personal hero, and nothing will change that. That's why I was sending out emails about rumors that I was getting and all sorts of pathetic things that people were saying. It was an affront to say that I just don't care what these folks think or say. Um, I just know what I felt, what I observed, what I went through. And being in the position where I was, which was the driver's seat, I absolutely understand and understood how it was. Now I'll explain it from a male perspective, and I don't think it will make sense. It was so bad. It was so bad um, that I couldn't communicate at all. So in order to communicate, I would um, I was getting treatment for anxiety, and I would get those pills for anxiety, and then I'll be a bit more liberal and I'll communicate. And sometimes I might over communicate and regret stuff that I said that I couldn't take back. And at the end of the day, being young, I was young at the time, I did not know the repercussions of my words would have repercussions on someone else, because at that stage it wasn't a name to name basis kind of thing, right? So I wasn't as brave as I would like to make myself out to be. I wasn't courageous at all. I was scared. My heart rate would go up. In her presence, I would completely tense up to the point where I would freeze, right? But this was after things went bad. And things go bad, that's life, right? And sometimes we don't understand it and we make assumptions. And that can be totally forgiven. Now, the thing is, this sort of anxiety of engaging in separation anxiety that I had, I didn't know was shared. So it was like this big area right there in the middle that had to be overcome. And I used all sorts of means and techniques to try and overcome it. And eventually, in my personal journeys, ups and downs, from the worst case scenarios to points where my life was at stake, I managed to push through and I learned. Now, the things that I learned was for one. The people that speak of things like anxiety and depression as just things that are in your head and you have to brush off are the people that have to be ignored. This is one of the most hurtful things you can say to these people, and this is one of the things that will drive them actually to maybe hurt themselves in turn. Right? You can't see, just as well you can't see cancer. You can see the body decaying, sure, but what do you see? You see the mental state of a person decaying. Isn't that? Is that a good thing? Is that not a condition? Something that needs to be fixed. So this impedes on a person's full potential at most. I can attest to this because it impeded a lot in my academics, where I wasn't performing as well as I should because of performance anxieties. I was just messed up and stuff. And yeah, I forget that. That's the past. Now, to get over anxiety is to sort of understand it, and by understanding it I mean to embrace it. You have to embrace that, yes, I have this condition, and you have to you have to master that courage to be able to even say it in a crowd that yes, I do have this condition. That is a milestone. It is number one, a milestone, irrespective of the stigma. It is one of the biggest milestones made, because the admission is awareness. Subconsciously it gives awareness, so now you're aware. Alright. Secondly, you start to look at your triggers. You start to look at the things that trigger your anxiety. There are always things that trigger anxiety that are actually not negatives. Right? There are actually things that trigger anxiety that are positives, but the perspective, the sort of mindset that anxiety puts a person in is a worst case scenario where if this thing goes bad, it goes completely bad and everything just goes wrong, and then there isn't really an attempt, and then there is a trigger of anxiety, and then there is a trigger of an anxious reaction, right? Like cutting someone off, cutting people off, trying to stay away from someone because you feel like this person is actually bad for you. That person is actually a trigger. They are not a cause. You already have that. It's internal, it's yours. What you should do is expose yourself more and more to your triggers. Now this is where bravery comes in. This is where it's called cognitive behavioral therapy, where you are exposed to the things that bring out the fears in you. So basically, step by step, in your most daring moment, even if you do it and run away and hide in a corner for a week, you've done it. You'll come back. It just means you have faced it for that time, and then you face it for the next time, because it is stairs that need to be climbed. Now anxiety comes when it gets extreme. It comes with depression, which makes it worse, and this leads to a need for relief. This leads to substance abuse. Alcohol can relieve, and this leads to things like, you would like to go out and just put out all of the energy that you have, so that you don't have the energy in your mind, so that the energy is put out somewhere, right? This is why some people say exercise is good for helping with anxiety. This is for mild situations. Referring to serious situations now. There are a lot of people that don't know that they do have this at a serious stage. Number two, always express yourself in whichever means you can. Try. A lot of people write in dictionaries. A lot of people write online. I know I myself, I had a blog. I used to call it Insight, where I used to blog and write about stuff, and it was a very good outlet. And it was also a way for me to sort of gain awareness, and it helped until it got sabotaged. And secondly, you should know that even when I'm tough, when I'm mean, when I seem not to care, the point that I'm trying to put to is reach out. It's a dare. It's me saying I'm there already, so can you reach out? Because I put everything on hold already and I'm waiting. So just reach out. And reaching out is one of the scariest things. And now this leads to the old ways in which reaching out was done. Start there. Those are the basics. But do it knowing that from there you want to climb some sort of a ladder, right? Because as soon as you get that exposure to your trigger, to the thing that you think causes you the most distress, you will realize that it all just goes away, literally, like a weight off your shoulders. It does. It's like getting out of prison. It's like Nelson Mandela walking out of prison for many years. And that's what anxiety is. It can be a prison. It can hold someone in. And there are those of us who have been through this stuff who understand it. Now I'm speaking from a male perspective. And my perspective has always been to pull doors. So I don't know what is the female interpretation. I know most women do tend to cut themselves or tend to they misbehave and such. But the support system, which is important, sometimes isn't there. This makes things worse. But then you should look at where you do have a support system, even though it isn't strong, or it only provides the emotional security or the emotional strength. That's where you should sort of lean to strengthen yourself as you go through this process, because it is a process and it comes and it goes, right? I'm lucky because I have professional help, and there are people out there who don't have professional help, and I know it's much harder for them, right? That's why I'm making this, because I see that it's more difficult to reach out, to admit, right? And mostly to face the obstacle. But it is a human condition. It's something that we got because of our changing environments. It's not something that everybody has, but there is some guy that's growing a tree on his face, and not everybody is growing trees on their faces now, are they? So these things might be rare, but they are there, right? And they are debilitating, and the stigma on them that they are just white people, illnesses or whatever. Those that's complete rubbish. And a lot of people look to religion to sort of um, find a calming, meditative means. And I say good, because whichever way you do use to meditate um, is a good thing. But the pillars, you should build the pillars of awareness, and mostly you should understand that most of the time your triggers are not bad. Your reaction is what's bad, not the triggers, right? So this is it's a process of learning, and by learning it means trial and error, sometimes doing it, sometimes doing it, not doing it, sometimes attempting, and I guess I'm willing to go through those trials, um, but um, the casual um, normal viewpoint that some would have, if that is the main agreement that is reached, then I I can't I don't see how I'm in the picture, right? Because as I am an emotional person. I'll admit that, emotional in that when I get angry, I get angry, but it's mostly for a reason, and I usually state these reasons, and mostly they are not agreed upon by everybody. But there's no dialogue. When there is no dialogue, there isn't a way to work things through. But I'm still here. Um, it's impossible uh, to break a bond um, within a day or a few minutes. That's reactory reactions. Um, so yeah, I'm just saying. Um, to look to the future, um, the basic things that have to be overcome also have to be overcome, and the pressures like education and work and whatever can be faced, you know along with others who understand the toll that these conditions or disorders can have on a person, especially on relationships with others, how they communicate with others, with friends, and so forth. You might get fits, and you end up getting enemies, and just behaviors that are reactory, that are involuntary at that moment, and it's hard to be the bigger man and just say sorry, I didn't mean to do that, and so forth. This is kind of the male perspective. I would understand the female perspective, but Yeah, the what can I call it? The MO of life um, is not set in stone, not for everyone, right? Everybody has fear. Fear is natural, but anxiety is not fear. You can face a lion, but anxiety can debilitate you um, to be fearful of a butterfly, a phobia, and it might be funny to some, but let it be. Make that leap, and that leap is gaining strength. It's gaining self-strength and self-confidence as well. Um, I'm walking through my stages too. Um, the thing about this stuff is you might relapse, and when you do relapse, what are your support systems? Who knows and who cares? And I do in my capacity.